Make this thing turn on. There we go. Do we have sound now? How about we do this again? It's Friday. It's an emergency edition of Tech Talk Taco Tuesday. And I'm sorry for the typical introduction. We got so far ahead of ourselves that we didn't have any sound, but so typical here. Anyways, it's a one beer KTM300 rebuild. So we had a problem when we took this apart on Tuesday, and since now it's Friday, this means I'm screwed. And if I decide to go riding, because there's probably a lot of you that are sitting in your garage right now, you're probably doing something simple like an air filter. And I have a little problem when I can't see the top of my bench. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what my problem is here. When I don't have any surface area on the top of the bench here, problematic. So we're going to go ahead and work on this rebuild as we go along. So I'll just kind of show you, just quick recap. I pulled this piston off right here. It got a little hot, and I did a lot of research and actually try to figure out why it did that. I will go into I'll go in detail on that later on why it did what it did. I know why it did what it did, and I have a few different KTM pistons now to show you different ways that they fail. And it's not because they're made out of clay. I can verify that none of the pistons I pulled out of this bike are made out of clay. So there we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get working on this right now. There's clean spots and dirty spots. So if you want to tell me about how my shop looks, go ahead and comment in the chat. I did a lot of prep work beforehand. I cleaned up the cylinder head, cleaned all the gaskets off, got everything ready to go. And I lubed up the brand new needle bearing. You can get super close up on that guy there. Lubed up the new needle bearing. That's going to go in here. And I checked out everything in the crank. And for as dry as this thing was, and I rarely do this, I actually poured a little bit of oil on the main bearings and all the different stuff there. So I've got the needle in there. Now I'm going to install the piston. So piston here. Also, and this is because it's so dry when I took it apart, and I rarely do this, I usually put two strokes together dry. I threw a little oil on my rings. And so I need this, I need circlip, I need my circlip pliers, and we'll go set this guy inside of here. So if you have questions, so what kind of piston are we going with? This is a Pro X piston. So I took out a Vertex in the name of testing and learning stuff, and because I want to know, this is a Pro X piston. I am pretty sure it's a cast piston, and it's actually a little bit heavier than the Vertex. It's 0.4 ounces heavier than the Vertex. So I pre-installed the circlip on the power valve side. And so now I'm going to slide the pin in here. So my circlip is in there and nice tight fit. There we go. Get that in there all nice and square. Arrow faces forward. And also before I did this, I checked the clearances on the cylinder, and everything was all good. So that's in there. And notice I have this nice blue rag here covering it up, because when I fumble with this circlip, if you want to come over to this side and watch me fumble, that's probably really good. When I fumble with this particular circlip, because there's I'm pretty sure out of 100 times, 72 times it falls into the crankcase and then you have to get it out. The other times it flies to another location in the room and you can't find it. So these are little tiny circlip pliers. And notice when I do this, I'm going to keep. Why is it quiet right now? Because I wanted to hear where it fell to. But it fell out and it landed on the carpet. So back here. Back to what I was saying. The reason I had my thumb there. My thumb is to catch it. And I really hadn't pressured it with my thumb yet. But this usually involves cursing. when I do this. So not me, but you know, regular people. By the way, I'm not, and that's so I have it clipped in here, and I got my thumb here. So I don't want this thing to go flying away because I do not, that I know of, have a spare one of these circlips. So there, and it doesn't want to pop in. The thing I noticed about the Pro X piston though is it's got a slightly different shape right here where it where the circlip goes in, and it's kind of, if you know a little bit about two strokes, part of this opening here is meant to catch some of the charge that comes out of the transfer port. There, it popped out, but I've got it. And I dropped it on the ground again, but it didn't go on the crankcase. So I think the odds are now, what, 90% that it's going to try to go on the crankcase next time. It's going to figure its way down there. But anyhow, this area is meant to catch a charge of the fuel and then use it to help lubricate the cylinder wall and all kinds of stuff like that. So, and there's not a whole lot of room. There's, like I say, part of this, there's a back cut on it where usually you would be able to kind of get it stuck in there. So get this circlip stuck inside there and hold it, kind of hold it in place. So how's that looking? I don't even know if you can see that on the, actually, you know what? There's a light that I usually use that's behind you that I didn't turn on for this show, but that's okay. We're fine. It's like black magic here. I turn this stuff in. And the one thing you want to be really careful of when you do this is that you don't bend the circlip. You want to kind of spin it into place as opposed to, because if you bend it and force it, and I'm actually having a hard time seeing this because, believe it or not, a camera guy is in my super awesome lighting source. There we go. Look at that. Extra. That's what, 4 times now? Yeah, 4 times and counting. This is why that rag is so important. Here we go. Let's get this guy in there this time. I'm pretty sure there's some tools for this that, like, really cool tools that make this easier. But there we go. It's in place now. And then also, when I put my circlips in, I like to have the opening up at the very top. So I'm going to go in there and adjust it right to the top. And I'm not 100% sure. There we go. I've been told that by guys that are smarter than me. And I don't know why. And maybe we'll have to do some physics or science inside of that. So just to give it a good little check, make sure it's super seated in there. That's all good. Okay. And so my rings were put on before I put the piston on there. Everything's good. I'm going to go ahead and pull this out because now I'm going to go ahead and put the base gasket on and drop this in here. So the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it down to bottom dead center. So it's easier to get everything in. Again, I pre-cleaned this thing. Let's see if I got any questions. Wow, there's a lot of people that aren't out. I eat tacos on Friday night too. It's Max Headroom from the 80s. Yeah. Sorry about the sound, by the way, guys. We fixed that, didn't we? Let's see. Mostly show me the doll where you were touched in theory. What? Is that really? Is that where we're at? I'll go ahead and call it up here. So what else do we have? We'll assume he's saying certain things. Sorry. The sad thing is definitely has a lot of wisdom to pass on to others. You might want to restart your podcast. No, we turn the sound on. Trust me. You've just got to fast forward through all the stuff. But thanks for letting us know. Yeah, I guess. And if it starts slowing down, if the stream starts slowing down, we may actually know how to fix it right now. So, okay, back to the working on stuff. Again, you had questions, ask in the chat, and I'm going to get, what was I going to do next? Oh, next is base gasket. This is important. Well, this is important too, but so base gasket. So the kit, the Pro X kit, and this is what I'm using to rebuild this thing. It's all Pro X stuff. I used a standard KTM bearing, small end bearing, but Pro X piston kit came with rings, circlips, pin, and the piston. And then the gasket kit came with the 3 base gaskets, the 2 head gasket O-rings. And you got to know which one to use. So here is what I do. Take out my trusty micrometer, pull out my old gasket, and measure it, and then I find the matching one. But here's the thing. The last time I did this, I actually went with a slightly smaller base gasket because I was looking for a little bit more snap. And it didn't do kind of what I thought, but I did notice that it was a little bit more sensitive to fuel, and I also thought I'd be riding at higher altitudes more. So I'm going to go back to the thicker base gasket. And here, this one's basically 0.75 millimeters. This one's, I have to check it again. When I forget, I'll check. So this one I think is 0.5. Yeah, 0.50. So this is 0.5 millimeters, and this is 0.25. So between these, you could get, so this here technically with these two would be like 1 millimeter, and you can get thick. But I'm going to go back from 0.5 to 0.75. So I'm sorry, this is wrong one. Here we go. Take this and this, and then I would have essentially a 1 millimeter base gasket. But I'm just going to go back to the straight 0.75 to allow a little more stuff with the fuel, so I don't have to worry about it detonating, and just drop that sucker right on there. Again, cleaned all this stuff up earlier. I was happy with it. Now I got to grab the cylinder, which I cleaned and took out the slight amounts of aluminum that were inside of this, and we'll go ahead and drop this sucker right back on there. So pre-lubed up the cylinder's completely bone dry. There's a little bit of oil I put on the rings, and from what I remember the last time I did something like this, and this should be easier to go back in, I pulled it out with the cylinder head still intact, but when I saw what was inside the cylinder, I said, okay, we're going to have to pull the cylinder head off. So I'm trying to get that hose to stay away. So I'm going to drop this guy inside of here. With the cylinder head, it's kind of a tight fit. And then also I have that protective ring around the exhaust flange that makes it a little bit more difficult to remove. So I took that off previous to doing this. So just going to maneuver some of the radiator hoses out of the way. I could pull all the radiator hoses off if I wanted to. I removed the radiator out of the way. So let's get this guy here. And it's a tight fit. It's mostly the hoses and the wires that are. There goes my fuel filter. My little micro fuel filter just popped out on the floor. Here. Seeing these things? So I'll just drop this down in the frame here. It'll show up in a second. This is that little fuel filter here. Go ahead and hold your hand out, and I'll drop it in your hand. Notice the color of that thing. It was kind of a little bit gray. That means it's dirty. So just in case you were wondering. Okay, so I've got the cylinder kind of close into position. It's basically hovering over where the piston is. And now here is where you want to make sure that your rings land in the pins so that the rings are in the right groove, and put it all in. And then getting your fingers into the position is the next trick. So luckily I can see back here, and I can hold my fingers and feel in the back that the rings are settling in place. And then I'm going to basically use the kind of the chamfer on the bottom of the cylinder to guide this sucker in place, all the while making sure some of these hoses aren't putting some crazy angle, because right now my spark plug cap was getting stuck in there. And if you want to make this a lot easier, you just take all the other stuff off. But I thought I was just going to be slapping a cylinder onto this bike, sort of dropping it in. And having done this like at like ISD qualifiers and stuff before, in, you know, while the bikes are muddy and you know, different things, it doesn't bother me that much to be working in, we'll say, the not the most sanitary environment. Does that work? So now I wonder, I think the Beta 300 I did, I also struggled quite a bit with this particular thing. On bikes that were older, it seemed like there was a little bit more room to maneuver inside here. And we have the Attack Cat coming in. You want to hang out? Okay, so we got the rings all settled in, and now it's sliding down. And now I'm finding the studs. Okay, before I set it all the way down, I'm going to grab my nuts. Not like that. Like, not these nuts. The nuts that go on my cylinder studs here. Because the two that are in the power valve area, these here, you actually have to put them on before the cylinder goes all the way down. There's not enough room. So as soon as you start seeing threads get exposed, you go ahead and set the nuts on there. So I got that guy started. I get this guy started. I come over to the other side. I'll lift it up to get it back on. Come over here like that. And that fits back on there. Guy on there. And then this guy goes on here. Now I can settle it down, snug those guys down. And the torque on those, I believe, when I get to torquing them in a minute, is 35 Newton meters, but I will check. And just bring that up to top dead center. Keeps the dirt and debris out. It's mostly clean, but I'm going to check right now. Torque. Amazing. Look, it's one of those things, it's called a manual with specifications and stuff on it. Cylinder, nut, base, 35 Newton meters. So I will use this torque wrench right here. It's in my wrist. Hold on, I got to calibrate it real quick. Let's see if we have any questions while we're at the thing here. And San Felipe Bob tells me to grab the numb nuts. Perfect. So many things to watch, but I find myself watching this. Good job, Jimmy. Hey, thanks, Travis. That's a real compliment. Beer is an assembly lube for the, well, it's also a torque wrench calibrator, by the way. Beer helps it get together right until it doesn't. So measure twice, sound is good. If I wasn't 7 miles away, I'd swing by to mention it. He'd come and tell me that the sound isn't working. That's good. The internets are not that much slow. I recommend a pair of readers for the circlip recommendation. You mean these things here? These? Huh? No, I don't use them. Psych. Let's see. When you're single and snowed in, Tech Talk Taco Friday is all you can do. Let's see. We hear 2 words, then 10 seconds of no sound. That's your thing. Okay. So back to it. I got the wrench. I'm going to go ahead and snug these guys down. It's real easy. Oh yeah, you can switch it over to go to wide shop actually. Get that and see how. Nah, that's gonna be my back. So go ahead and go to the one you're holding, the SRT Evo. And these are a tight fit in here. And like I was talking on my other show, I used to have a special wrench. I don't know where it's at, where I actually shaved down the back of the box end so I could get it in there and get a really good snug fit on these guys. So right now I'm just kind of doing my initial snugging. And then now that I've gone around, I'm going to go ahead and give it the first crank. And I do the crisscross, as you can see. Good exercise. And the sound is working, correct? Yeah, we got sound. So here's that. There. Back over here. And then we will start over again. And I'm going to go to 32. I got to hold the bike to do 32. It's on a stand that swivels. So, okay, that's 32, believe it or not. If you want to have a wrist torque wrench challenge, I'm willing to do that with you someday. Got the locals out tonight, Friday night. 32. 32. And then back over here and 32. And then we're going to come up and we're going to give it 35. Okay, 32. So now back to 35. This requires a little more leverage here. I could actually take it off the stand, but 35. And then I'm going to go ahead and do this one while I'm at it. Get it close, and I'll come back and check it. There we go. And one more. There we go. That's 35. Someone's going to say, never buy a motorcycle from this man, right? I got some for sale. I sent pictures of one today to somebody. So, yeah, okay. 35. And back here, my cat's pissed off. This is the one where I really wish I had that box end wrench, because it's hard to get to. And it's sort of like right now, it's right in between where, there we go. God, I wish I had, there, I got it in there. There we go. Box end's in there. Now I can crank on it. One more, and it's 35. Yeah, there we go. Recheck here. Now that I'm all calibrated. That's it. And back over here. There we go. And last one. Okay, good. All done with those. While I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and start plugging some stuff in, just because it's easier to get at right now. So crankcase pressure sensor is going in. That's just up here on the back of the, kind of hides on the back of the cylinder. I can get it lined up. There, and I need to get my pliers to move the thing on here. Do you have any questions over there? You can see. Yeah, if you have questions about this, and I'm not selling my torque wrench, by the way, I may actually break out a real torque wrench for the cylinder head, but you never know. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. There you go. Got that little clip in there. I'm going to attach the fuel injection wires just here. And then the other one over here. Okay. Just checking to make sure all that stuff's fit. Looks pretty good. Whoop. I'm only one wire from just having this thing out of the way. I could set it on there. Actually, you know, if I set this guy in here like this, it'll stay. There we go. This hose out of the way. That thing shouldn't be in there. It's out of the way. It's hooked up. And then now it's time for cylinder head. So cylinder head is over here. I cleaned that guy up a little bit, ran it on my surfacing block, and I have my new O-rings. Do you put grease on the O-rings? Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. If these fall right in and they don't need to stick, there's no reason to put anything contaminant inside of there. I'm going to get a clean towel and just clean out that groove, make sure nothing fell in there. Like so. Hey, and if you're wondering how I got a cameraman, I said, hey, mystery cameraman, as he wanted to go eat dinner at Tower Pizza, by the way. If you want to pay us back, you can come and buy us dinner over at Tower Pizza right now. We'll be there in less than 20 minutes. Isn't that what I said? We'll be there in less than 20 minutes. Okay, so sometimes when you put the O-rings in, they fall right in. And these are definitely just a little bit on the tight side. So I'll show you the next thing I do. Is I'm just going to take this O-ring, and I'm not really stretching it that much, but I'm warming it up, giving it a little bit of a stretch. And just in doing that, oftentimes it'll help it sit down there, because you don't want that thing to pop up once you get it in there. And it didn't. And did it stay that time? Nope, wasn't enough. And so now I'm prompted to think about wanting to throw a little bit of grease in there, which will just kind of help it stick. So here we go. Oh, it's so close. Yep, I'm going to throw a little bit of grease on it. So I'm going to check this outer one here. See how it does? And it's in the same boat. It's just a little bit on the tight side. So, and now I'll grab my grease. And I'm not putting that much on, just enough to make it so it's sticky. And so stretching it and sticking it. Pop it in place here again. like that, almost. Throw a little bit on this guy here. Let's see if we have any questions real quick. Let's see. Cool KTM. Dinner time buy. Oh, much better. Let's see. If you spit on the O-ring, if it's too tight. Of course, that's Victor. No, Victor, that's something else. you spit on if it's too tight. Okay, that guy's staying in there now. Add a little bit more to this one here. And a little more grease. What's up, Cat? So, let's see. I think any other things that would be beneficial to mention at this time. Oh, if you want to support this horrible podcast / show, you can. I don't know if this is going to make podcast. I think this is more a visual experience, so it might live as a proper Tech Talk Taco Tuesday. Okay, they're all set in there, all nice and clean. Wipe off the top of the piston. Have a sip of torque wrench calibrator. Brilliant. And then we drop this beauty right in place here. Just like that. And on the KTM, there's a couple pins that are holding it down. And if you're not totally square, and I'm just checking to make sure my O-rings are in good place, I want them to go down. Where's my little rubber mallet guy here? And I did try to take the pins out of the cylinder just to make sure that they were in place, and I think I might have galled one of them because it's really sticky on this one pin over here. There we go. Yeah. And the O-ring's popping up again, so more grease. Back to here. Okay, that's down. Seat up nice. Okay, all in place. Studs. They are located exactly right here. So this is the other thing I'm going to throw a little bit of grease on. So I've never found that this would hurt anything. So either grease or some assembly lube. I'm just going to, because the grease is out, I know it's going to get the job done. I'm just going to wipe a little bit on each one of the threads. This helps give it an even torque. So that's all good there. And then you can bolt this thing back on. I don't know if we're going to go all the way to the point of getting it to start on this particular show. Because I can tell someone's getting hungry. No? No one's, you got to start it. I'm looking around, just checking. Got to start it. Okay, this could take a couple minutes longer, but not too many. This calls for some techniques where to speed up the process. No, I'm not going to impact these things down. this spins faster than my hand. So I'm setting them down with the driver. So okay, so that's in there. Now, do we really want to use this thing? Do we really want to use a torque wrench? Yeah, we do. It's not going to hurt anything. 27 Newton meters is, I'm pretty sure, what this thing calls for. Screw, cylinder head, 27 Newton meters. Checked. So again, little cross torquing pattern on this. Come around to the other side here. This guy here. It's set to a super low. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and go up to 27. You know what I'd like to do? I should crank one with my hand. Why not, right? Let's crank one with my hand, and then I'll check it on the torque wrench and see if I go over. Let's see. Newton meters, 27 foot pounds. You know those things, those glasses things I was supposed to look at? It's the light, not the glasses right now. So Newton meters, 10. Why am I not seeing? Let me check the equivalent in the 27 and 19.9, because actually on this particular wrench, the foot pounds 19.9. It's a lot easier to. That's 20. That'd be 19.9 and 20. And I correlate over to the other side, and I'm at 27. Okay, I'm happy with that. So stop spinning. Okay, there we go. Okay, come here. Okay, so what I'm going to do, part of the challenge. Oh, go with this wrench. I was actually going to do it with the wrench, the one that I had earlier, the 13, my special torque wrench. Where did I put that guy? Did I leave it inside the cylinder, or did I put it away? Where is that? I don't see it. Here it is, right here. Left it on the foot peg. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to put it at. I'm going to put it a little below, because if I over torqued it, it would just pop right away. So I'm actually going to go a little bit below what it's at. It's a different angle, so I can't do it by the feel. Here's a good challenge. I'm owning up to my own word, so I got to go 27, right? That's 26. Claiming it. So here we go. So this should spin just a little bit and then click. So I'm gonna say it's gonna turn like 10 degrees and then click. Yep. Yeah, that was good, right? Don't bullshit a bullshitter, right? It's years of experience. That's all it really is. It's practicing. And then learning from your mistakes. I'm going to say my pattern wasn't the best tonight, but this is not a race motor. Okay, done. Bueno. Always take the torque off your torque wrench. That helps. I'll leave that there. I won't be able to find it later, but I shouldn't need it anymore. I am going to install the temperature sensor on top of the cylinder head while I can get at it easily. It's a tight fit on this guy. Let's see, this goes this way. When I remember on the newest KTM, the TBI bike, the hardest thing that I actually had to do, the hardest thing in that top end assembly was unclipping the fuel line.
You really like that spark plug.
You want me to put a new spark plug in it? I'm happy with the spark plug. It's fired every single time it needed to. It's going right back in. Let's see. If you're surprised that my wife hasn't called right now, where's my 21 millimeter? Oh, well, I'll use this one. I'll use this 21. She called earlier. So if you're wondering where the call from Heather is, that's there's probably a torque on that. I don't know the value, but that's proper. And let's get that spark plug cap put back on. Again, this is one of the harder things to get, this stupid spark plug cap on with the extra wires and stuff inside of here. So I always do it when it's easy, because once I start throwing the head stays on and get the radiator hoses in place, gets a little touchy in there. So I'm going to reconnect some of the rubber bungees that are holding stuff, the wires and stuff up in here. And if you watched the show the other night, the reason it's dirty up in here is because I was in a rush, and had it been better timing, I would have, I would have sprayed this off again later. So next thing I'm going to do is I got to put the gasket, reusing it, by the way, reusing the gasket here. Before I clip that power valve actuator on, I'm going to put that gasket in here and slide it in. Sometimes it's good to throw a little silicone seal around the base of this, but I actually kind of like it when mine leaks a little bit and then somebody tells me my bike's going to blow up because there's a little bit of oil coming out of it. So I'll just leave that for you to do later. And now I have to find the little power valve clippy guy that I know is in this vicinity, because I actually used it the other day to. So here's everything. That wasn't there. It's not there. These are used. There's extra things. It's not in here. That would be a hard part to. I have one someplace, because they've been using that part since the 1960s. That little spring guy. So it could have touched something that was magnetic. Not there. I do remember it was in this zone. It is something that could have gone missing. I don't think it would get that far away. It was right over here. This is why I don't like to have my benches all cluttered up with all of the things. And there's some stuff here that's magnetic that could have allegedly picked it up, but we will see. If not, we're going to be start to look on the ground for things. I don't see it there. Here, not there. I'm examining the fall zone right now. I don't see it. It was right here. Not there. Oh boy. It's not in the coolant. That's good. Let's start looking around the floor here. It's not on the seat. It's not by the muffler. I have a hunch that... Where is that sucker? So is this the point where you start blaming it on your cat? Right? The cat walks on the bench, and this has been out for a couple days. And so what I'm going to use this for is I'm going to use this for a moment to kind of clean up some stuff that's sitting around, and hopefully we will locate a little tiny clip, or I'm going to go on a tour to try to find it. Not there. Okay, so the most likely spot would be for it to have fallen right down in here, because this was right below where it was. So I'll look and see. I don't see it right here. Let's see. So there's one more zone. You know what's funny is I got this old KTM motor in here, and this, I could probably dig one out here, because this is it's a super old... See, that's the ball that it's going to hook right up into at some point if I found it. I'll bet you there's one in here if I need it. So it may not only be the one that I need, but this is what you have when you have stuff like this laying around. Let's see. Don't see it there. Let's go here. I could actually leave it like that and just come back later and plug it in, but we're going to take a look on the floor, see if it is anything easy to get to. If everybody thinks that this only happens to me, you're right. I know nobody else has these problems. Jimmy, I think the beer you're drinking is not the cat. So head gasket. No, I used for a head gasket, there were O-rings, so no head gasket. Let's see. The cylinder, water fluid going for cooling. Let's see if there's any other questions. Water jacket. Do you need another stud? George is probably nearby. I think I have the Parker DT mounted the wrong way on the front. Yeah, it is a dual. You know, that's a good question. Yep, it is backwards. It's funny because it's in the medium direction, and that was specifically for a test to compare something. So that's a good catch. That is the wrong way, and that does make that horrible. Let's see. Spit on the O-ring. Whether that's where we're at. Let's see. Yes, that would be my guess. A leak down test checks if there's a leak. So maybe confirm this. There's probably some deeper seated questions that I didn't get a chance to read, but we're on a mission to find my power valve clip. The last time I had it in my hand, I was using it to pick at the cylinder to get the O-ring out. And I'm going to get my little flashlight guy here, and I'm going to see if it fell into this crack here. Possible? No. My next move is going to be to lay down on the floor and then see if something sticks up from the surface of the floor. That, let's see. This is where the show gets super excited. This is the suspense. I just found a paper clip, and I'm thinking I could bend this paper clip into the shape that I might need. I mean, if that thing fell on the floor, it could have got kicked, and it could be anywhere. But let's see here. Check around. I have this old box of KTM parts, like from when I was racing, and that clip was, I had 5 or 6 of those clips. I remember I made a parts order, and I never ever had to use any of them, so they still exist someplace. But these are the things that make a 20-minute project into a couple hour project. Good grief. Let's see. I was kind of thinking if it fell, it would have fallen right here. Oh, wait. It's funny because there's an old magnet and it has a clip on it, but not the right one. Okay, we're going to go into this parts box here and see. This is an old KTM300 that I bought. It was junked, and I bought it for parts. So it's actually a KTM380 of all things, and most of the motor is in here. This has power valve parts, so let's see if it would be in here. There's the power valve spring cover, shift fork. What's down here? Counter shaft. Where's the cylinder sitting over there with a big chunk out of it? It had a catastrophic end of life moment. And that's not it. Okay. Okay, here's the power valve. Here's the side cover. There's the power valve arm. There's the dealy bob. And it's not on there. Oh, wait. I found one. Yeah, never say never. 5mm Allen. Did it die? Oh, we're switching over to a different one. Let's see here. Everybody always asks me, why do you keep all this crap around? And you never know when you're going to need it. Friday night, you might want to go riding. You might want to go riding your bike the next day, and you don't have the parts, but so here's the power valve linkage out of an old KTM 380 from a 19, I don't know when. And here's the clip. I'm being careful with it so it doesn't fly across the room. There we go, bingo. As luck would have it, but I don't believe in luck, so here we go. Back in business. That clip is going to show up on my cat. My cat's going to be wearing it like a piece of jewelry. Something died? Oh, that guy died. Yeah, go to the wide shot. So hit the oh, you know what? It probably turned itself off. Plug it in. So we're back here. The camera died. Don't worry. It's typical of a show like this. And so that's popped back on. And that thing may come back alive in a couple minutes, but I'll just keep doing it like this for the time being. Okay, parts from, God, this thing was a big pile of molten metal. When that clip was in service. Okay. So power valve cover is going on next. Again, if you were watching earlier, you know why I didn't put any stuff on this. So the next time we're out riding, when it leaks, you can tell me why it's leaking. So there we go. And so power valve cover has these 3 little things on there, 3 bolts. These are just kind of snug tight. No big deal. And then I'm going to attach the breather tube to the overflow thing here. And we're going to go from there. So that's good. That's good. Are we missing our dinner reservation? You sure?
Yeah.
Okay, just checking. So we have that, and this hose goes here, and then that's all connected. There, tucked in out of the way. Power valve cover on the other side now. Here, is that thing charging right now? Other guy? Is it red? Okay, I think it's charging. You actually clip it. You click it on there and see if it's connected. So power valve cover on the opposite side. Reusing the gasket again because it was in good shape when I pulled it off. Typically these things are good. The gaskets are okay. I've rarely seen this one leak. And did it? It's not connected. Oh, so sometimes you have to push the button to turn it on, and then it like finds the network and reconnects. We'll see if it can go. I don't know that there's that much more that we need to do with that camera. There's not much more, we'll call it delicate work. Yeah. So if you're wondering what we're doing, we are rebuilding a KTM300, or putting the top end back on a KTM300 that I took apart on my last show. So I thought a little bit about like what the life that piston had, because I trying to do a little bit of a kind of comparison between some different parts. And that piston had been drowned in a river or beaver dam. It had totally overheated one time where somehow, and this is the only thing I'm really curious about on this bike, is one time I took off to go riding, and it was up at high altitude, and it seemed like the bike was running really hot the whole time. And it was so hot that it boiled all the coolant out. And I was kind of doing some stuff that was a little bit gnarly, but nothing crazy. And it was really hot outside, so I don't know if, that was the cause of it. Wasn't really sure, so I'm trying to make sure I got all my radiator hoses back on here correctly. Got to do the one on top of the cylinder head as well. So on this ride that boiled it out, and this is where the scars and the piston came from. It actually kind of started to seize on the back of the cylinder, like on the intake side. And it actually seized on what's called the boost port. So there's the transfer ports on the side of the cylinder, and then there's a boost port, which is on the back. And that is the one that comes directly out of the crankcase, and it doesn't have any of the fuel from the the injectors going into it. And I think it was a long ways away from like the oil. Yeah, but the oil comes into the crankcase first. And for some reason, I think that based on where the we'll call them the, where the fuel is, which would be kind of cool, and fuel has some lubricative properties to it as well. Is that thing coming alive yet? No, that's, I guess. Yeah, it needs to be probably just plugged in. Oh, that was a good idea. Yeah, get a charge off the thing. So so my theory is that the front of the cylinder has a lot more coolant flow than the back. If you look, there's a big opening on the exhaust side, and so I think somehow or another that allowed the back of the piston to kind of heat up sooner than the because usually they season the exhaust side. Now I need a. And here's the other thing: when that thing got super hot, by the way, it brittled up the hoses. The hoses are a little bit what we will call less than super pliable. There we go. This bike has hoses on it that are acting as if they are 10 years old from the heat cycles it took. Okay, this guy here. So anyways, that's why I think it seized on the intake side, because it was probably asking more than what the lubrication could do, the little bit of lubrication that goes in there. And the little bit of coolant that was in there was probably going the easiest way it could, which was to the exhaust side. And therefore, that side stayed cooler, and it didn't season that side. So that's my kind of theory on that, because I've seen a couple different types of seizures on these bikes in particular, like a nice 4-corner seizure from somebody who got stuck in the bathroom. Nobody's being named here, but someone was a little late getting out of the bathroom and took off on a cold bike down the street to catch up to the group, and that didn't go well. That ended with a nice solid seizure, nice 4 corners, proper, didn't heat up the bike seizure. So there's that. And then I have a pure no oil seizure where we ran the bike out of oil, and that seized in a little bit different way. That seized everywhere. So through experimentation, I've seen a couple of these different things. So this one, and this bike was running fine. It was a little bit, we'll say a little piston slappy, but not too bad. Okay, that's tight, that's tight. All this stuff is tight. When I put it back together, usually when I drain the coolant on these, I tighten it back up, and yes, I did. So the coolant's good to go, and I need to put new coolant in this bike because the coolant that was in there was very, very suspect. So we're good there. All the things over to the wall to check to see if you have any questions. The answer is no, but there's still 12 million people watching this show. Sorry, Jimmy, you got a side conversation going on during my project. Well, you guys are the ones that are watching this show live right now, so you can do whatever you want. That camera's still not working, so we're gonna go back over here. Coolant. I have some coolant someplace. It's probably in. You know what I have here? I have water wetter. This stuff. I'm going to put a little bit of this this juice in there because that never hurt anything. We did some tests, and this was one of the most effective things you could put in your coolant. I got to run out here and grab more coolant stuff, which is right here, allegedly. Extended life coolant antifreeze concentrate. Now, had this in stock too. But unfortunately, I don't have any deionized water. So it's got a little bit of coolant in it, enough to start it, by the way. I mean, I'd start it without coolant too. I'm not afraid. So we have that. I need to get a fuel filter, the little itty bitty fuel filter. Here, Jeremy, there's one in this. If you want to grab that fuel filter and just stuff that into that thing, and then I'm going to work on getting the exhaust pipe put in place. So when I pulled this exhaust pipe off, it literally fell off because the O-rings, again, got so hot. In its extra heat that it produced inside there. So I'm going to replace the O-rings. Actually, it didn't get as bad as I thought. A lot of times when they get really hot, they just crack when I'm doing this, but there's still a little bit of elasticity left to the O-rings. And you want to keep these things in good shape. And a lot of times I'll actually even combine the O-ring with some high temp silicone. Not tonight. I'm just going to slap this thing on here to get it started. But that kind of cushions it around, because I've actually seen the exhaust pipes basically wear out the cylinder flange, and then it's never right after that. So my tequila gauge is good. What was that noise? That something else? The show died. It went down to oh, did you turn on, did you hit the Wi-Fi's? Yeah, it went to almost zero. We're back alive. Yeah. Okay, so I have a couple O-rings that I'm gonna throw on here. And then I'll set this pipe back in place, and then I'll set this pipe back in place, and then I'll put the muffler on, and we'll make this bike start. So we had the suspenseful part when we were looking for that clip. Now this would be the resolution of the whole thing. Okay, I'm gonna go with a 1 pipe spring on this guy, because I have to put my super duper exhaust flange protector back on there, which takes a minute to get it set up inside there, and I'll do that tomorrow. Like, I'll probably tell somebody that we're gonna go riding, and then when they get here, I'll still be working on this, because that's how you, like, I should probably enter. That's what happens. I have no idea. I wonder if my phone's trying to do something. Okay, so that's plugged in. Now we got to make the fuel tank work, which is here. Fuel filter is new. This thing has gas in it. We'll set this guy on here. Put this on here like so. That's clipped in. This guy down here is now clipped in. We do let the pump prime up. We have enough bandwidth. Are you ready? Is everybody ready? Oh, I should just wait a second. I didn't even have anything to celebrate with when we do this. So anyway, here we go. So not too bad. It's trying to prime itself. But not too bad. There we got a running motorcycle. Okay, that was it. We succeeded. Mission accomplished. If you have any questions or whatever, if you're watching this, I'm not going to make it a podcast. It'll be a special episode of Tech Talk Taco Tuesday. Today in the shop. Congratulations. If you, would it be easier to pull the engine? No, that was about the easiest way to do it. Let's see, small blue smoke on startup, maybe oil, but you guys having your own thing. Somebody's telling me their dinner was good. We're going to dinner, and that's really it. So I have a running bike. It's probably about another 20 minutes of fiddle farting to get that thing all back together, and then finding some good water to throw into the cooling system. So everybody,